than you by thinking it's better. It doesn't get better.
Here. Okay, so go ahead and say your complete given name when you were born, what day.
Okay. And my name was Donna Marie Donnelly. And I was the second child born. It was 3.5 years younger than my brother.
Who was Dwayne?
He was Dwayne, and he was the oldest, which made me kind of a middle child, because I had one child 3.5 years older and another one 2.5 years younger. So it was like I was a middle child. I got gypped. And
Where were you born?
I was born on my grandparents' farm.
Wait, you weren't born in a hospital.
I wasn't born in the hospital, no.
Were you born with a midwife?
Just with the wives, we would call them midwives. And what they do, they go to the doctor. And I believe this is the way the story goes. They go to the doctor and they find 2 or 3 women. And and so then they wait around for the baby to come. It was something that I don't recall, and I doubt that many people do recall.
Right.
And Dwayne was the oldest, and he was, of course, a boy. And I was next as a girl, and Donald was next with another boy. And last of all was my sister, who was 4 years younger. And we were born on the farm, my grandparents' farm.
Where was your farm?
What year?
No, where was it located?
Oh, it was located near Freeport, Ohio. It's just a plain old country home. And they farmed.
Was that in Spencer?
No, that was in Freeport, Ohio.
Freeport. And how long did
near
you...
Caddis.
Caddis?
Caddis.
How do you spell that?
Pardon?
How do you spell Caddis?
Cadiz.
Oh, Caddis. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how long were you there at that farm?
Well, we spent the summer there, just because, so that they had someone to take care of me and the rest of the family.
What do you mean you spent the summers there?
Well, we would, in the summertime, we would pack up and go and...
Oh, you had 2 homes.
Yeah, actually...
you had a summer home and a winter home.
That's right, we did have a summer home and a winter.
So you summered in Caddis, and otherwise you lived in Spencer?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we lived in Amanda first.
Oh, in Amanda. But you summered in Caddis when you did the farm.
Mm-hmm. And we got to produce all our own food.
What about livestock?
Pardon?
What about livestock?
Well, we were farmers. My parents were farmers.
No, what about livestock? Did you have cows and chickens?
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah?
Yes, I had, they had horses and cattle and chickens and...
All kinds of stuff.
I had all the typical farm things.
Okay. And, let's see, so you lived on the farm in the summer, and while your parents... And who took care of the farm in the winter?
My grandfather.
And what was his name?
He was John Alton, I think it is. John Alton Santee.
John Alton Santee.
Right.
Okay.
And my mother's name was Alice Opal. Although she went by Alice, she didn't like Opal. And so and they essentially lived on the farm in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And we rarely ever made trips to town.
Sounds picturesque and possibly boring.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well, it was different.
Did you have friends on the farm?
What?
Did you have friends on the farm?
No, we were way out in the country.
So it's just you and your siblings.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, we had some cousins that lived around there, so occasionally we would get together on a Sunday afternoon and have a picnic. And it sounds very idyllic, but it wasn't. It was hard work.
Oh, they put you to work.
Well, as soon as you're able.
Ah, okay.
And
child labor.
Child labor, it really was.
And what were some of the things they'd put you to work doing?
Well, we had to gather the eggs
Mm-hmm.
from the chickens. And that's really about the main thing that we had to do. Because it was,
How many chickens did you have?
I go probably around 30.
Did you sell the eggs?
Yes, we did sell some eggs. And we canned a lot.
Not the eggs.
What?
The eggs? The eggs, or you just sold the eggs?
Oh, just both. Not the eggs. Those had to be eaten every day or every few
Right.
days. But they,
You canned a lot.
you know, if you're trying to raise them, yes, you do candle them.
No, you can't. You canned food a lot. Vegetables.
No, but we canned vegetables.
Right.
Right.
Did you can them, or did you put them in the mason jars with the lids and stuff?
Well, that's canning. It's called canning. CANNING.
Right.
And
Okay. And I remember growing up, I remember Grandma having canned beans, and she had this 3-bean vinaigrette sort of thing.
oh yes.
And then she had other things in cans.
Oh, we canned meat.
She did grape jelly, a lot of grape jelly.
Yes, and they did jelly, and well, anything that could be canned was canned, because that was the best way to keeping it over the winter time. And
who would do all that? Who would do all that work?
my mother and my grandmother.
And did you have to help out too?
No, but I wasn't old enough. They wouldn't let me near them. Water, they canned them in boiling water.
What kind of? Do you remember the address of any of these places?
No, I don't really know. No,
So-
I don't.
When did you guys leave? How old were you, or what year was it? Either
Well,
for when you left Amanda.
Yeah, I was 12 years old, 11 years old.
And then you moved to Spencer.
Yes.
And did you like Spencer?
No.
You liked Amanda better?
Yes, but I was too young to appreciate it.
And was Spencer like a big city compared to Amanda?
No,
Just different.
there's Freeport and Amanda
Mm-hmm.
were about the same size.
Okay.
And there probably weren't more than 600 to 800 people in either of them.
Okay.
And the only thing that was better was we didn't have television, so therefore we played a lot outside.
In Amanda.
in Amanda.
But did you have television in Spencer?
Not until I moved away.
Yeah, I was going to say, we didn't. I remember growing up here in this house, and we had a small black and white television.
For a while.
Yeah, but there wasn't much on it, and there wasn't much to watch.
No, there wasn't much.
When I was young. So I can only imagine.
It was very. I was very young.
Did you guys listen to the radio?
Yes, we did listen to the radio.
What kind of stuff did you listen to on the radio?
The regular, just what was on television that day. It was like, well, when we were growing up, we didn't have television. And all we had was the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And, but we didn't get to use the radio that much because my uncle, and maybe I had one uncle lived with us.
When you were growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Who was that?
That was Uncle Dan.
And why did he live with you?
Well, why did he look like me?
No, why did he live with you?
Well, he wasn't married yet. After he got married, then he moved out.
Oh, okay.
And so that was just a temporary thing.
And how many rooms did you have in the house that you grew in Amanda?
We had one bedroom on the main floor, and then we had 2 bedrooms upstairs. It was crowded, and we all sat around the not furnace, but the stove, and the old-fashioned stove. And we all sat around and just would talk and just carry on a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd tell, my parents and grandparents would tell stories. And
Can you think of any of them?
no, I don't remember any of them now.
What was your grandma like?
Well, she was very sympathetic. She was very open with the kids.
Mm-hmm. She was nice.
Yes, she was nice. And Granddad was a bear.
And by a bear, you mean? Okay. He had no tolerance.
He had no tolerance.
And this was your mom's parents.
Pardon?
This was Grandma's parents.
Grandma's parents were, they were people by the name of Kennedy.
No, but you said your mother, you guys would sit around the stove with your parents and your grandparents. Which grandparents are you referring to?
In this case, it was my mother's parents.
Okay, the Kennedys.
The Kennedys, right. And,
you remember her name?
Zella.
Zella Kennedy. Zella?
Mm-hmm.
And what was his name?
Pardon?
What was his name?
And his was John Kennedy.
John Kennedy.
So,
and what did they look like?
well, grandmother was kind of roly-poly.
Mm-hmm.
And she worked hard. I mean, from the time she got up in the morning until she went to bed at night. Well, a farm is a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of work on an old farm like that. Because everything they have is old-fashioned, I mean, for that period of time. And,
Did you guys have cows?
yeah.
Did you have to milk the cows?
We were too small. But what was fun, when my grandparents were milking the cows, the kitty cats would come up behind and they would squirt milk into their mouths.
Right.
And they would do that sometimes, not so much in the morning, but in the evening.
So the farm is where you had the 3-bedroom place?
Yes.
Okay. Wait, is that the Freeport place or the Amanda place?
That's a Freeport place.
The Freeport place is where you lived during the year, and the Amanda place is where you went in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And the Amanda place only had 3 bedrooms.
Yes.
And who slept in the bedrooms?
Well, Grandmother and Granddad
They had their own.
had their own. That was it. And any guests that come would end up sleeping on rugs or sleeping,
Sleeping bags?
you know, just whatever they could find to cover you with,
Mm-hmm.
so that you. And of course, we got to see lots of little baby animals, and that was always nice. And then they had a harvest every year,
Mm-hmm.
and usually it was in September. And they would have the people would gather. There'd be a whole crew of men, and they would go from farm to farm to farm, and mowing and bringing in all the corn and the wheat, everything. And then we could help some just by taking tools from one person to another.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one time. It was called threshing time.
Mm-hmm.
And threshing was it was a marvelous time, because we got out and romped with all the kids that we never saw and couldn't see because they lived too far away.
Right.
But they would bring the kids along, the older ones, not the young ones. And that was always nice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one time I've been told this story, that my dad was out loading hay and hit a hornet's nest
Mm-hmm.
and almost died. Because
Really?
they had nothing to take away
The poison.
the antidote.
Yeah, an antidote.
Yeah, they didn't have much of anything.
Hmm.
And they took him down to the
Hospital?
no, there wasn't a hospital around.
Doctor's office?
And there wasn't a doctor's office around. And so they, I don't know exactly what they did, but he finally came out of it.
How many times was he stung?
How many times
Was he stung?
Oh, only just once.
Oh, but he had a reaction. He was only stung once? By one hornet?
He was stung just by several hornets.
Oh, okay. It only happened once, but it was by several hornets.
Right. And so they were very careful after that,
Yeah.
more so. And then my dad, I left out Tarleton.
Tarleton? What's Tarleton?
That was the name of a small town that we lived in for a short period of time, only about maybe a year.
Oh, how old were you then?
And we were born, I was born in July, and then we moved to Tarleton.
Tarleton, Ohio.
Yes.
I don't know where that is. Okay.
And after we settled in there, and then my dad began teaching and going to school.
At Tarleton.
Mm-hmm. And there were one other small town, but I can't remember what it was. It wasn't very long. But anyway, life was interesting, sometimes very boring. And so it's,
So who was your first best friend?
who was my,
Your first best friend.
our first,
Your first best friend. Your first best friend. Best friend.
Oh, best friend, okay. My first friend were in Amanda, because I was old enough that I could get out and run around. And so I had 4 or 5 best friends, and we would get together after school or go hiking through the fields, and it was idyllic, but it wasn't, you know. After a while, it gets to be old stuff.
Right.
And so anyway, I went to school in Amanda from first grade. We didn't have kindergarten. And from first grade to 5th grade. In 6th grade, after the school year, in the 6th grade, is when we moved to Spencer.
How many kids were in your school in Amanda?
Most of the classes probably were about 12, maybe 10, 12, 15. They weren't large classes.
You mean years? There were 10 or 12 sixth graders or 5th graders.
Yeah, it would average about, I think, 10 to 12.
Okay, per grade.
Yeah, per grade, yeah.
Okay. And so then you moved to Spencer, and you stayed. Your grandma and grandpa stayed in Spencer until after you were married, and you had us, because I remember going to Spencer.
Yeah, my grandmother then, they needed more money, so she went back to school and graduated then with a degree in business.
Now you say they needed more money. How were you guys, you made a living because Grandpa was a teacher,
Right.
And then you farmed in the summer.
For a while we farmed, mainly because we had a big lot, huge,
You mean in Spencer?
in Spencer.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Behind the house.
Yeah.
And you farmed that, and then you made it, and then Grandma went back to, and she started teaching as well.
Right, and so then they said they didn't.
Where did she go to school?
Ashland.
College?
Mm-hmm.
Did she get a college degree?
Yes.
And Grandpa had a college degree?
Mm-hmm.
Did your grandparents have a college degree?
My grandmother did. She, because they needed the money too. And now hers doesn't all, the education that the grandmother and grandmother got was like through 8th grade or through 10th grade. Not 10th grade, but through 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, it wasn't a college education, but it was okay for teaching.
Right.
And and then your granddad went back to school and got his degree.
What did he get a degree in?
History. And
Wait, are you talking about my granddad or your granddad?
I'm talking about your granddad.
Oh, okay. Where did he get his degree?
Ashland.
Ashland College.
Mm-hmm.
And did your grandparents have any degrees?
No, just grandmother had one.
Grandma had one, but Grandpa, your grandfather, did not have one.
No, no. In
Okay.
fact, he was busy or taking care of everything.
Now, on Grandma's side, you had uncles. You had an Uncle Dan.
And right,
Who else did you have?
Uncle Ralph,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see, Uncle Dan, Uncle Ralph. Maybe that's all I had. That's terrible. You can't remember your own grandparents.
I don't know. Ask me in another 35 years, and
Right? Yeah, that's true.
I'll let you know. Or 32 years or whatever.
Right.
If that's terrible or not. Okay. What about on your dad's side? Did you have any aunts or uncles?
We had. There were five children, and there was.
Stanley, your dad. What was Stanley's middle name?
And Aunt Bessie,
Mm-hmm.
and Aunt Bertha, and one more. I think it was a boy, but I can't really remember.
Okay. And what was grandfather's middle name?
Oh, Uncle Ivor was the other.
Uncle Ivor.
Yeah.
Okay. Ivor. I-V-E-R?
I-V-O-R.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Ivor.
Yeah,
Ivor.
I-V-O-R.
Ivor. Okay. And your dad's middle name was, what was his middle name?
Burnell.
Burnell.
Mm-hmm. I guess it was an old family name, but...
B-E-R-N-E-L?
no, it was B-U-R-N-E-L-L.
N-E-L-L. Old family name, huh?
Pardon?
It's an old family name, you said.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was.
Do you remember his parents?
I remember my one granddad, and he loved kids, and he was the coolest grandparent you could have. And when we
Grandfather's dad.
were- Pardon?
Grandfather's dad.
Yes.
What was his name?
Ivor. Uncle Ivor. But I cannot think of his first name. Burnell was your granddad's. Granddad's. He, anyway, when we go down to his, you have been to great granddad's house on the side of the mountain or the hill. Yeah,
Are you talking about Aunt Bertha's place?
Yes. Oh, that's the one. No, and then they bought one that was. They bought a house on at a different area, and these are all not really mountains, but they aren't. But they're on the side of hills and things like that. But when we went to visit him, he was the neatest granddad. He would run down to meet you, and he would throw his arms around you.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's the best memory I have of all of my grandparents is that, waiting to be hugged by Granddad.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had 5 kids. Uncle Ivor. And
Now, who's your cousin Daryl? Who's he? Is that Ivor's?
Was Uncle Dan.
Oh, Uncle Dan's
And that
kid.
was grandmother's brother.
Grandmother. Oh, okay.
And So, but anyway, he would always find something that he could give us that was special. Maybe it was a lollipop. Maybe it was, just something around a pretty rock. He was very personal. Personal. That's not right.
Personable.
Yeah, he was very personal.
And what did he do for a living? Was he a farmer?
Yeah, he's a farmer. And completely a farmer. And sometimes when we would stay all night, well, we stayed all night every time, but out in the meadow, which was down the hill, in the meadow, we'd wake up and he would wake us up. And he would say, would you like to see some deer? and that was a big treat. It was exciting looking for the deer where they come in across the field. And it was interesting. It wasn't as, when you're living it, it's not as boring as it sounds.
Oh, it doesn't sound boring. No, it sounds like fun for when you're growing up, you know?
And so, and then when my granddad, when he got sick eventually and died, but...
Do you know how he died?
Pardon?
Do you know how your granddad died?
I think it was old age. He was in his 80s.
Okay.
And he...
Your granddad was Ira? No.
What?
What was your granddad's name? Ira?
Yes, Ira.
Or Ivor?
No. Well, it was my Uncle Ivor and my granddad Dolly.
Granddad Dolly was Ira Dolly.
Yes.
And did he die in like 1943?
It could be. I can't remember. But we went to visit him, and he was at my Aunt Bertha's house. And that's where he died, was at Aunt Bertha's house. And,
I just found a thing online that has I don't know if these are the same ones, but it has a gravestone up for Dolly. It has a Dora E. Dolly and an Ira L. Dolly.
Dora Dolly was an aunt, yeah.
Was an aunt?
Yeah.
Wasn't your great grandma? I mean your grandmother.
I don't know. I know.
Well, this one was born in 1867 and died in 1936. And Ira Dolly was born in 1860 and died in 1943, which would put him at 83 years of age.
Okay, that would be about the right age for
to be your grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Doris Elizabeth Caldwell Dolly. Does that sound right?
Oh yeah, Caldwell. That's an old family name too.
Yeah.
And
okay, so so then Spencer, you were there until you left for college?
yes. Mm-hmm.
And what did you guys do for fun in Spencer?
In Spencer, not much. No, we played kick the can and.
What's kick the can?
Well, you have everyone gathers and you yell stop and they stop, and then you put the can with a rope on it, and you put it in what would be about the center of of the playing field, and they would yell. Something, chicken can, or kick the can. I can't remember exactly the rhyme that we used. But we did that. We played hide and seek. We'd run and hide in bushes, and I was almost always the last one caught because I was the littlest and I could hide in more places. it was a good childhood. Of course, I would have liked to have had a lot of the things that a lot of the kids had.
Like what?
Well, like, well, well, maybe not. My next door neighbors, they were high school kids, and they always needed someone to pitch to. And so they would get me outside and say, "Do you want to catch balls?" And of course I did, especially these handsome boys. and so so they would pitch to me. I got so I could hit pretty well because this went on for 3 or 4 years.
So did you play that as a sport? Did they have sports for girls back then?
Yeah, I did. They had softball. And,
you played softball?
yeah, I played softball. And
What position did you play?
Was pretty good.
What position did you play?
Oh, I don't even know what position it was.
Oh, what kind of clothes did you wear back then?
Just plain ordinary clothes.
Well, what's plain and ordinary for back then?
Well, it would be,
Did you wear pants or a skirt?
no, we had to wear a skirt. And then we would, as I got older, and we climbed the tree, and you girls didn't have anything on us because we climbed the tree, and Donald, your Uncle Donald, fell out of the tree once and broke an arm, and then something that was really neat and unusual. We have this town that we lived in had a main drag going from one end to the other. And they would come at a certain week every year, and they would park in front of our house. And
Who's they?
Yeah, the people in the car.
Oh, okay.
And so they would look for us, and then when they'd find us, they'd pull over and stop and talk to us and talk to my parents, and it was just a kind of a neat, just something unusual that happened every year.
Who are these people?
Oh, we didn't know them,
But they did it every year?
but every year they would look for us. And so it was, you know, after the first year and the second year, then it became a permanent thing until we finally moved out of there. But that was different.
So, did you belong to any clubs or anything?
No, we had a Grange Hall.
A what?
A Grange Hall is where, like, once a month, why, all the people would gather and there would be square dancing and playing games and things like that. But it would be like a community thing.
Grange?
Grange. Grange. Grange.
What's the second word?
It's just one word.
Oh, Grange. They called it a Grange?
Yeah, it was a Grange Hall, and most small towns
Oh,
had
hall.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was their meeting, their fun, you know.
So once a month you guys would get together.
Right.
Did you have to wear a skirt when it snowed?
Oh, yeah.
What did you wear underneath the skirt? To keep warm.
Oh, we had long stockings that we wore. I forgot about those. Yeah, and it really got cold. And so we would put on these stockings
Yeah, I was wondering what are you gonna do. It's
Right.
freezing out, and you're running around in the snow, and you got a skirt on.
Yeah, well, it got
Not-
wet.
Not very practical.
No, it wasn't very practical. But they were just coming out then when I was probably 7, 8 years old. That they had the long stockings,
Mhm.
but they were making them heavier. So it would be warmer for you. And,
It's nice of them, huh?
pardon?
It's nice of them, huh?
Yeah, right.
What kind of shoes did you wear?
Not too much different than what the kids wear today, actually.
My kids wear tennis shoes. Did you wear tennis shoes?
No, theirs are leather, but they're just that tie. You tie them.
Leather tied shoes.
You're right.
Did anyone wear makeup or pierce their ears?
No, no.
And how did you used to have your hair styled?
Just parted on the side and put over a bow or something.
Who was your first boyfriend?
Oh, who was my first? It was a boy in our class, and I thought he was so cute. And Charlie.
Charlie? You remember Charlie's last name?
Charlie. Not Armstrong. What was it? Can't remember now. But
And so, did you get any special awards or recognition in high school?
no, they didn't really
Do that?
do that right.
Did you guys go on vacation?
Yeah, well, our vacations were going to our grandparents' house. It wasn't mother's and dad's vacation, but it was ours.
Right. So wait a second. You never went on vacation when you were growing up?
No,
Did you go out to eat to restaurants?
no.
Were you what we would consider today someone who was middle class, poor, or upper middle, lower middle?
I would say lower middle.
Lower middle.
Well, because we produced everything ourselves that we use.
Right.
And so it was, and there were, a few people in our town that had money. And I can remember this girl, she lived on the edge of town, and her parents owned a filling station and a garage, and they were considered wealthy. And I can remember one time she redid her bedroom. And these magical colors and things,
Mm-hmm.
It was, and we were all jealous of her, but
Now, this is when you lived in Spencer, and I remember the house, and I remember there was an upstairs. How many bedrooms were upstairs?
there were 4 rooms upstairs.
4 bedrooms?
Yeah.
2 on each side?
You came up with the center, and then you turn right, and there would be 2 bedrooms. And then when you turn left, there would be 2 more bedrooms.
And I remember one bedroom had wallpaper with roses on it, or some sort of red flower.
That's probably the case.
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember.
And how did you guys split up the bedrooms? You and Doreen in one, and the boys in the other 2, and
Yes.
Grandma and Grandpa in the third,
Yes.
or the last one.
They would, the 2 boys were in the room together, and grandmother and granddad, I think, if I recall right, they were in a separate bedroom with their family, with us, and then they They didn't really, that was, yeah, it was really just, as you described. You come up the steps and you go out. Yeah.
And let's see. Now you didn't like Spencer though. Why didn't you like Spencer?
Well, because I was a foreigner.
Which is kind of funny.
Yes. It was, that particular area was very clannish.
Mm-hmm.
And no one comes into our circle unless we say so. And I was the last one to move in, which made me, they didn't want anything to do with me.
So did your siblings have the same problems too, or not as much?
Not as much, because after Dwayne and I went through,
Then you were part of the clan.
then I was part of the clan.
You were the ones that were hazed, and then the other ones were let in. We can't get rid of them, so I guess we're gonna have to.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they were.
So Don and Doreen got through unscathed.
Yes, they did.
Now I think there's a picture that's up in my bedroom right now of us grandkids out on a lawn, and someone took the picture.
Right, and we've been trying to find, ever since we took that picture, we've been trying to find the one with Kimberly turned around.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Yeah.
But that was at Grandma, that was in Spencer?
That was in Spencer.
Okay.
Right.
And when did they move out of Spencer?
Well, let's see, I was 12.
No, out of Spencer.
Oh, out of Spencer when I
To West.
graduated.
When you graduated high school?
Graduated from college.
Graduated from college, okay.
Yeah.
So that was sometime in, well, if I remembered it, and I was 3 or 4, so you're talking about the late 60s,
Yeah.
early 70s, they moved to Berea?
Yes. And that was an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how people assimilate.
Now, how come they lived out there in the middle of nowhere? How come they didn't just move to Cleveland or something?
Well, because they both had jobs in Spencer.
Did they like it there?
No. In fact, my dad wanted to move to Canada, or
To Canada?
He said he could get a job up there, and it would give him more money. And Mother said, "No, you won't," because she says, "I'm not moving out of the country like that."
Mm-hmm.
And so we never moved, and I was happy about that.
And so after you left Spencer, you went to where?
To Berea.
No, after we left to college, right?
Yes, right.
And you went to 2 different colleges, right?
Yeah, I went to Kent State.
Uh-huh.
And I graduated from Kent State, but in the meantime, I did go to a year and a half in Cadiz, Ohio.
Cadiz.
Ohio University.
Ohio University.
Yeah.
Oh.
I went for a year and a half, and then I went I started out in Otterbein, and I went to Otterbein for 2 years.
Wait a second. You went to Kent State, Otterbein, and Ohio State?
And not Ohio University.
Ohio University.
Right. Yeah.
But you graduated from Kent.
Yes.
So you started off at Kent?
Right.
And then you went to Otterbein.
Wait, no, I started off in Otterbein.
In Otterbein.
Right.
And then you went to Ohio University.
Right.
And then you finished at Kent.
Yes.
And why did you move around so much?
Well, partly because Dwayne was moving. I went wherever Dwayne went.
Was that by choice or?
No.
It wasn't?
No, but I mean, it kind of was.
You wanted to go where your brother was.
I wanted to go, right. And,
Why Dwayne move around so much?
well, he usually had grants and things. Dwayne was really very intelligent. And he would get scholarships and things like that. And he was in this department at Ohio University and was doing so well that they would keep him there.
Mm-hmm.
But then after he graduated, then there was nothing to keep me that far away, and they didn't want to have to chase me down to Ohio University.
And when you were going to those colleges, did you live in the dorms?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And finally you graduated from Kent State with a degree in education?
Yes, and a master's.
And a master's from Kent State. But you didn't get that till later.
Right.
Till after you had us.
In fact, we had a carpool that drove to Kent State University from Berea.
That's after you were married?
Yes, yeah.
And do you remember what year that was you got your master's?
Let's see. No, to be exact, no.
Do you remember what year you got what year you got your undergraduate degree from?
Well, my undergraduate was middle, maybe 1950s, 60s. That's terrible. I can't think of what it was.
Okay. And then your master's was how long ago was that?
Oh, I've had that since I was probably I can't think. Time goes so fast, so fleeting.
It's okay.
Can't remember.
Okay, so how did you meet Dad?
A teacher introduced us.
Okay, so you met him through a teacher. Remember the teacher's name or no?
It was, what was his name?
That's okay.
Oh, okay, 58, 59.
59 is when you met Dad?
Yes, or thereabouts.
And you got introduced. And was it love at first sight?
No. Love at second sight? No.
What did you think about him when you first met him?
Oh, I thought he seemed nice.
Mm-hmm.
Boring.
Boring?
Oh, he isn't around here now.
No, he can't hear you.
Okay, good. No, he was more settled.
Calm and settled down. He was older than you, 7 years older.
Right.
And you got married when you were 28?
28, yeah.
So he was a few years older than you.
Mm-hmm.
And he owned his own house.
Yes, no, I wasn't impressed by that. But
The small house on Park Lawn, right?
Right, yes.
And he'd been working for a while. Was he still a teacher? Or was he a principal then or anything?
No, he's a teacher to begin with.
When you met him.
When I met him, yes.
Okay. And how many dates did you, or how long did you date him?
We dated for probably half a year, and then we broke up, and because I wasn't ready. And so I dated a few other people,
Mm-hmm.
and went roller skating with them, and ice skating with them, and did all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then he approached one more time, and I decided, well, maybe I should get married. Still wasn't real convinced, but it turned out okay most of the time.
Okay. So he asked you to marry him.
Mm-hmm.
And how did he ask you?
Actually, he got down on his knee and did it
Oh, he did.
down at my mother and dad's house.
Really? Did he ask permission beforehand?
Yes.
And what did your dad say?
Good, get rid of her.
No, Grandpa didn't say that, did he?
No, I'm just teasing. He didn't really say that much, you know.
You don't know. You weren't privy to the conversation.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. So he got down on his knees and he said, "Will you marry me?"
Right.
Did you already have the ring picked out?
No.
No, you had to go pick out the
I
ring.
went and picked out the ring, which is in this house someplace.
And did you say yes right away, or did you give him a hard time about it? I don't know, let me think about it, or was it?
Kinda, you know.
You did?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not so sure.
I'm not sure.
And he told you to think about it, and later you told him yes, or how did that work?
Yeah. Later, then he said, "Well, let's get a ring," and we went downtown Cleveland to a jeweler's there. And
You got your ring.
and then he got my ring, and then we went to a really nice restaurant, and he proposed to me and
Again?
put the ring on my finger.
Aww. What restaurant did you go to?
Pardon?
What restaurant did you go to?
I can't remember.
Oh,
It was it wasn't a good restaurant, it was nice.
it's probably not there.
It probably isn't.
No.
They don't last very long.
No, they don't. So, okay, so then you guys got married, and you got married in the Methodist church. Was he a Methodist?
Mm-hmm.
And you were already a Methodist.
Right.
Did that have anything to
And
do with it?
He was already Methodist, too.
Right. Did that have anything to do with it?
No.
And you got married there in Berea.
Mm-hmm.
And in your wedding party, you had Aunt Vi.
Right.
And who else did you have?
And what?
Who else was in your wedding party?
My own, Vi, and another librarian. She was the librarian at Berea High. And then there were two other bridesmaids. And both of them are gone now.
Mm-hmm. And before you got married, though, you went on some trips. You traveled, right?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I spent one summer just going from place to place to place. And just staying 2 or 3 days at a place, and then
Where?
I couldn't tell you now.
No, in the U.S.?
Yes, it was in Ohio. In fact, mostly in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And then
Like visiting relatives?
No, because we were all, the 4 or 5 of us were,
Oh, you did it with girlfriends.
yeah, girlfriends.
And you just went to different places in Ohio.
Yeah, I think it was.
Was there just sightseeing, or
Was there what?
what were you doing in these different places?
Just visiting them to see what they're like.
And then one summer you went to Europe.
And then after my first year of teaching, Vi and I had our bicycles. And
Did you buy them in Europe?
yes, we bought them in Europe.
Did you leave them in Europe?
Yes.
Did you sell them, or did you just leave them?
We sold them.
Oh, okay.
And
Where did you go in Europe? Do you remember?
oh, we started out in Spain, I think it was, and worked our way up to Belgium.
And you biked that whole way.
And we biked that whole way.
And you took some trains.
We took some trains. The biking was one that you had to pedal to start. It wasn't fully automatic. You had to.
Oh, it was like it had a gas thing to it.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, so it was a little bit kind of motorcycle-ish.
Right.
So was it a moped?
Yeah, let's call it
Like a Vespa?
Pardon?
Like a Vespa?
No, I don't remember what the model was. It was called a Vespa.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, okay.
And then we would go from hostel to hostel to hostel and visit.
Did you have a good time?
Oh, yes.
How long did it take you? A couple months?
11 weeks.
11 weeks, wow. Just you and Vi?
Just Vi and I, yeah. Now, today I wouldn't let us, I would not let a daughter do that. Mainly just because things have changed, so it's not, she hasn't changed, but, it's
Different.
right, it's different now than what it used to be.
Okay. And so you first started teaching. Where did you teach?
At Fairwood.
Fairwood. And what grade?
I started with second graders.
At Fairwood, which is in Berea.
Mm-hmm.
And how many schools did you teach at total?
How many what?
Schools did you teach at total?
Let's see, I taught it.
Fairwood and Park Knoll.
Fairwood and the grades, River Edge, and then there were a couple more, but mainly I ended up in River Edge and Smith School.
And Smith. Didn't you teach at Park Knoll for a while?
Yes.
Park Knoll
was the longest one that I stayed at one place.
And then you had Carrie. When did you have Carrie? What year was he born? He was born in 62, right?
62.
And he graduated high school?
Pardon?
He graduated high school in 81, though, right?
Yes.
And you had him in the hospital.
Yes.
Now, why did you have? Was that just now the thing that women were having him in the hospital?
Oh no, they've been having him in the hospital for quite a while.
For a while. So that was you didn't even consider having him in the home.
No.
And then you had me in 64.
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly in 66. And then you took some time off from work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what was I, about 12 or 13, and you went back to work?
Yes, I didn't go back. I didn't want to go back to work until I knew all of you kids were settled, and you're in a grade level and where
And did you ever want to be anything else besides a teacher?
Well, at first I didn't.
Then after being a teacher, you did. What did you want to be?
I thought some in the business world, some,
Mm-hmm.
and mainly it was in the business world.
You wanted to work in business?
Yeah,
What kind of business would you want to work
I
in?
had no idea because I had been teaching and I didn't have any I really didn't know anyone that was really in business, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It just never thought, never left. But I did, but overall, I very much loved teaching.
And everyone you knew was a teacher.
Yes, practically.
Yeah, and your entire family were teachers.
Yes.
Grandma and Grandpa, Uncle Don, Aunt Doreen, Uncle Dwayne. Uncle Dwayne was a teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And was he an administrator?
Yes. He was an administrator.
He was he a principal?
But I don't remember exactly what. Oh, he was a school psychologist.
What? He's not a
The
psychologist.
last 4 years that he was.
I mean, a school counselor?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, not a psychologist.
Yeah, no, he was a psychologist. He had a degree in psychology.
Right, but he didn't have a doctorate in psychology.
No, not a doctorate.
Okay. Okay, and so he had a degree in psychology. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let's see, what was it like having all three of us here in the house?
Well, for the most part, it's been wonderful. Now, there are a few places here and there I'd have to erase that and say, well, maybe.
And what were we like? Let's take it one by one. What was Carrie like as a baby?
He was a very easygoing baby. He didn't create any big, he was fine.
Fine. And what about me? How was I as a baby?
And you,
It's okay. You can be honest.
you were adventuresome.
Any interesting stories to tell there, or?
I'm sure if I thought I would find something. I'll have to work on that one.
And how was Kimberly?
And Kimberly was, she was pretty much her own little self.
Was she quiet, or was she?
No, none of you kids really cried and carried on.
No, I said, was she quiet?
Yeah, she was more quiet than anyone.
And let's see, we used to go on vacations together. We used to go to, spend the summers. We would take the trailer.
Right. And we would be gone probably about 4 weeks. Not every year that long, but would be about that.
And who was while you were living here in the house, who were some of your better friends? You had Mrs. Martins. I remember you loved Mrs. Martins.
Oh yes, she was really nice. I really felt bad when she passed away.
And then there was Aunt Vi.
And right. And Vi and Mike, and we traveled almost every summer with them someplace.
When I was here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that.
Well, you were
Young?
Yeah, you were young, and you were starting to have your own things.
What about when you were growing up? How did people get around back then? They had cars?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did people still get around by horses, though, too?
No, not unless they just took something from one of the places around here where they rent out horses.
And
But when you were only 7 years old, you did have your pony.
oh no, I was talking about when you were young.
Oh, well, we hadn't. They weren't exactly friendly. They weren't unfriendly, but on grandmother and granddad's farm, you kids like to go out and chase the horses.
No. Oh, Grandma and Grandpa had horses?
Mm-hmm. Oh no, not. I'm sorry.
You're thinking about
great.
You're thinking about Aunt Bessie's place or Aunt Bertha's place.
Yes. And at Grandma Dolly's, or Grandma Dolly's place. No.
I don't remember Grandma. You mean in Spencer?
No, in Freeport. Your grandparents were in Freeport until.
Oh, my grandparents were in Freeport. No, they were in Spencer.
Well, that was later. I'm talking about great-grandmas. Great-grandma and great-grandpa.
Oh,
had
okay.
that farm, and they had horses. And
Do you remember how they died?
Do I what?
Remember how your grandparents died?
As far as I know,
It was old age?
yeah, most of them lived into their 70s and 80s.
Okay. Well, what do you think about all these computers and the cell phones and all this other kind of stuff?
I caught up on it with them before I got so far behind.
You used to be pretty good at it.
Yeah, I did while I was teaching, and then after I stopped teaching, then I...
Well, you used to send me all kinds of emails and stuff.
Right.
You don't get on there anymore now, though.
No, that's one thing that I want to try and do this year is to catch up somehow. At least partly. And I was thinking, laying in bed thinking, and I thought, gee, I wonder how Isabella will feel if I start sending her stickers like I did you.
I remember that.
Right.
Yeah, you used to send me stickers.
Right. And so I thought, I think I'll have to not tell her I'm going to do it, but do it. She'll say, what's that crazy grandma doing?
That's funny.
Right.
Yeah, because she's getting ready to go to college.
Yeah, not very long.
Yeah, next fall. Or this fall.
Yeah.
This coming fall. That's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is.
Okay, how about we get some tea now?
Yes, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm starting to get hoarse from time.